Work session will come to order. And the one agenda item for this special work session is recommendation for painting the exterior of the municipal center and some repairs. Mr. Fleming, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were recently notified by Berman Enterprises, the owner of the majority of the office park here, that as part of their overall renovations to the park itself, they had let a contract to paint all of the exterior wall surfaces on their buildings, and they had invited us to participate with their contract. Basically, the finish on the outside of this facility is roughly about the same age as the rest of the office park. We worked on with their staff on a budget. They had, through their contracting, had provided us with a budget of $35,000 initially. We also identified issues with the windows of this facility. The windows in this facility are not original to the building, so there are some expansion and contraction issues. So we added to that repairs of the corners of the windows and to provide for caulking of the window seams. The Bermans had previously, through their efforts, put this contract out to bid. The range of bids that they had received were roughly about the $45,000 for this facility, all the way up to $187,000. We had worked with Michelle Saylor in the Office of Finance, and through her efforts, we have identified a funding source for this project. Because of the aesthetics involved, with the balance of the office park being painted whether we do or not, we didn't want to stick out like the proverbial sore thumb. So after discussions with the mayor, he directed us to put together a recommendation for this body and present it to you here this evening. We apologize for the lateness of the presentation. However, we were just notified that the Berman Enterprises contractor is preparing to start at any moment. So we wanted to make sure that we got our bid in and accepted by the contractor in time for their start. The value of the effort to paint this facility and address the windows is $45,120.
Okay, Mr. Fleming, as I understand it, are we paying Bermans or are we paying the contractor directly?
I believe we're going to arrange to pay the contractor directly.
So we'll be managing our part of the project.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions?
One thing you may want to be aware of is we're going to be doing a color test on the accent band that's at the top of the buildings. The Berman's contract calls for the accent bands to be painted reasonably dark blue. We're not entirely sure that's what we're looking for, so we're going to do a couple tests just to determine whether that's what we want. If not, we will likely go back to the brown that is currently up there.
All right.
Marty,
Yes.
if I could just interject. Bill did meet with them today and give you some updated information on the color.
Okay.
We can't go with brown, it's fine. As long as we can actually go with blue.
Subsequent to our discussions earlier this morning, the mayor has directed that we do a color test.
Okay. Mr. Smalls.
Thank you, Mr. President. Marty, I presume that we're okay regarding our procurement regulations and not having to, do any bids, just going with this one.
We had examined the bids received by the Bermans and
Okay.
found them to be adequate for our purchasing policy requirements.
Got it. Great. And then the only other question I have is, what are backer rods?
I'm sorry?
Backer rods?
For the windows.
That's in the description for the windows?
Yes.
In terms of the work? What are those?
I'm not entirely sure myself.
It's a piece of foam that fits around in the crack, and then the caulking goes over top of it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Ms. Nicholas?
Thank you. Does that price include like touch-ups, or would it be like in a year or so if it would need touch-ups different places? Does that include that, or?
Not by their forces. When all is said and done, we'll have a stock of paint that will match the color. Unfortunately, the paint that goes up initially is exposed to weather, so we're never going to be able to get an exact match if we do any restoration work.
Okay.
But we will have some stock available. Eventually, the sun will bleach it out, so it will match, but not up front.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Mr. Ricks?
Thank you. And do you know where that would have stood in our CIP? I mean, how many years we're moving it up, or are we moving it up, or is this just forbidden?
I really can't say how many years it would be coming up in the CIP. I can tell you that it is overdue.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have?
I don't think we,
It's
I couldn't hear.
it's not in a 5-year schedule.
It's not, okay. But it's preventative.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. I'll note that the paint's that's up there is 24 years old, so it's probably overdue.
We got our money's worth out of it.
Okay, hopefully we'll get our money's worth out of this.
Yes, sir.
And are the Bermans doing all of their buildings in the center, with the exception of the high-rise? Bill?
yeah, they've already completed the OW Fair side. They've
Right.
upgraded that. So the only thing left is the 3-story side that's directly behind us.
Okay,
So they're going to be working on that first.
okay, then they'll be complete with their cosmetic improvements, because of course they did the walkway last year to connect the buildings for Aquilent, is that correct?
Yeah, Aquilent.
Yeah, I think they've got everything over there now, don't they? The IT people?
I believe they've been bought out by Booz Allen.
Well, I can't keep track, but,
That's what's on the sign now.
oh, is it? Okay. Okay. I don't think they're going anywhere, though.
Probably not.
Hopefully not. Okay, so I think we're all right with this for the meeting, and we'll take action on it at the meeting. Work session's adjourned, and we'll reconvene in 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Please note, if you wish to be heard at this meeting, please sign the speaker list provided on the table to my right at the side of the chamber. I reserve the right to limit the amount of time each speaker has for each agenda item. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak for each agenda item tonight. Move to agenda item number 2, invocation led by Reverend Warren H. Litchfield, and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Mo.
Almighty God, we gather this evening hour to conduct the business of this city. Offer our prayer for our mayor, for the president, the members of the city council, and of all in authority. Grant to them a sense of justice, strength, and wisdom as they perform their duty on behalf of all thy people. We commend this city, this county, this state, this nation to thy merciful care and understanding. We ask, O Lord, that you will watch over the members of our armed forces at home and abroad, our fire and rescue, and our law enforcement community. Defend them day by day with your heavenly grace. Strengthen them in their trials and temptations. Give them courage to face the peril and beset them. Remember those who lie upon the bed of affliction. Comfort those who mourn. In the name of the one who's Lord of life, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item number 4, if you'd call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Here.
Ms. Nicholas? Here. Mr. Smalls?
Here.
President Les?
Here.
Mayor Mel?
I'll note that Councilwoman Crary is on a well-deserved vacation. It's a little bit cooler where she is. She's up in Vermont, so she'll be rejoining us in the city next week. The minutes were distributed. If you've had a chance to review them, are we ready to approve them? I'll call agenda item number 5, approval of minutes of the 33rd meeting of May 8th and the 34th meeting of May 22nd. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Ricks,
move for the adoption of both.
thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Ms. Nicholas? Yes. President Les?
Yes. Thank you. Move to agenda item number 6, approval of minutes of the work session on June 7th, 2017. I'll note that I appreciate Ms. Nicholas taking over in my absence. I was at the Pilates Awards that night. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Ricks.
move for the adoption.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Les?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Rao. Move to agenda item number 7, report of the mayor and city council. I'll move to Mr. Ricks first tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to thank the mayor for the information pertaining to the open letter to the international community and parties to the Paris Agreement for the United States and local and business leaders. I totally agree, and have heard from a number of constituents that feel like that we should take some action on this and stay in the Paris agreements. So I'm very happy to know that that's in works. I also would like to congratulate the officers and members of the Laurel Police Department on their award ceremony that it was held here on Sunday. It's very much assuring to know that the men and women are defending us on a day-to-day basis as they are. I think the new system that we have of doing that and breaking it down rather than doing it all one time, it seems like that from what I can see, it certainly it benefits us to do it. I think it benefits the officers, and it benefits definitely the families. In yesterday's, we had a little bull roast down at the American Legion. One police officer's little daughter was kind of cute. She was kind of shy at first, and she wasn't playing with the other kids, and all of a sudden she became very active, and I was watching her, and they put the cakes out on the table, and all I saw was his little finger come up and go over top and go into the chocolate cake. And when she came out from behind the table, she was all covered in chocolate. And that type of participation, it shows a lot of respect, and I think it's a good way to celebrate. So, Chief, I compliment you and the staff on doing something like that. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Mr. Smalls.
Thank you, Mr. President. While I didn't have the opportunity yesterday to attend the bull roast, I did attend the awards presentation that was held yesterday early afternoon. And I'll echo Councilman Rick's comments that, Chief, this is something that I don't want to say long overdue, but the way it's being presented now, I think, gives the community an opportunity to see the achievements of our police officers, as well as our civilian personnel in the police department. And I'll go back to the presentation that was made during a council meeting last month, where citizens were also recognized. I think this approach is an excellent way of doing that. The only other thing, Mr. President, I have is a reminder that tomorrow is the last day of school for Prince George's County students. So I'd ask motorists to be mindful that kids will be out playing even more so than they have been to date. So just recognize that they'll be out in numbers playing and enjoying their freedom for a few weeks. So please keep kids alive and drive 25. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Ms. Nicholas.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to attend the Dwight D. Eisenhower Award ceremony. It was for 166 students who had perfect attendance. And the president over there, Robert Dortch, he's very active in the PTA. He partnered with Danny Sorrow with T-shirt Acura dealership, and it was really a great event. I understand that they actually were on TV a few nights ago. I'd like to see more of those kind of programs here in the city. The second thing I attended was on yesterday. It was the Laurel Historical Society's Friend and Family Day. It was great. I learned a lot about antique values and what to look for. A lot of people there, great food. I'd also like to congratulate all of the officers that received awards. I think we really have a first-class police department. Thank you, Chief Rich. And I'd also like to especially thank Mr. Drummond, who was the Civilian Employee of the Year. I think that was great recognition for him. And I would also like to send condolences to the Shea family. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. I just wanted to mention that the Mayor's Award for St. Vincent Pallotti High School went to Laurel resident Christian Shambori, and they're always appreciative of that award because there's a check that goes along with it. So They had a real good turnout. They had a couple of students that had 120,000 plus scholarships and turned them down. They're going to the University of Maryland because $120,000 for Brown University doesn't go very far. So it was interesting the valedictorian and the salutatorian are both going to the University of Maryland at College Park, and that was commendable. On Friday, June 16th, I didn't get there, but I want to thank my grandson Aiden for representing me at the bike decorating contest, parade, and ice cream social. Were you there, Mr. Smalls?
Yes, sir.
We didn't get there this year, did we? We're usually
My
there.
employer had me held down. So.
But again, the kids always enjoy that, and it's important for them. The bull roast yesterday has been pointed out. They split the awards in the morning and the bull roast in the afternoon. And the encouraging thing was, as Mr. Ricks has pointed out, was there was a lot of family members there. And the kids were having more fun than I was having. I mean, they were running around and they had music going on, so they were doing their thing. It's with great sadness that we lost our good friend, City Solicitor John Shea. John was the fourth city solicitor that I've had the pleasure to work with over the 30 years I've been involved with Laurel City government. And as both John and I shared a wicked sense of humor, we got along splendidly. I will surely miss John. I'd like to congratulate our graduating high school and college seniors on a job well done. And it's been reported with school soon closing, not only here in Laurel, but Howard County closes tomorrow, or Wednesday. I think they're out Wednesday. Well, the closing for the summer comes a reminder that the month of June is National Safety Month, with the theme, Keep Each Other Safe. And there's nothing we got to watch out more than our children. We need to not only look out for one another, to make sure we get home safely each and every night, but safety is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week project. And as I said, please watch out for our children playing, walking, and riding their bikes. That concludes my report. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. To the family and friends of Kay Harrison. Again, Kay retired from the city, but she retired from the city as the office manager and the city administrator's office. I want to thank all the city staff and friends and family that came out and paid their respects to Kay. Kay had almost 40-some years of service to the city, not only as a paid employee, but volunteer service in the city. So we'll remember Kay, as we said, when the fireworks go off or we see a parade. So I want to thank everyone that came out. Also to the family and friends of Wanda Stoner. Wanda Stoner is the daughter of a longtime Norris Beard, a longtime member of the fire department. And it was a sudden death of Wanda. Also to the family and friends of John Shea, as you heard, I had the opportunity to appoint John as our city attorney. He filled in and was a partner with Bob Manzi. I want to thank Bob for being here tonight. John fought a good fight. Every time you'd see John, he'd always ask how he was doing. You knew he wasn't doing too well, but he always said he was doing fine. Gave a good fight. Even, I told his wife the other day when I went down to the funeral home, I said, that Friday night, John called me because I called to check on him. He was in hospice, and I called and wanted to see how John was doing and be able to report back to the council and city staff, just let them know how he was doing. He didn't answer the phone, but he called back that Friday night, and he called and wanted to know how I was doing and how the city was doing, and wanted to know if I needed some legal advice. And I couldn't believe it. I said, John, I called to see how you were doing. He said, I'm fine. I thought you needed some legal advice. And up until the end, I told him he would always be Laurel's attorney until he told me otherwise. So I just couldn't say enough about John, and told his wife that and his family, and we'll miss John. And he was way too young to pass away. So I want to acknowledge John and thank him. And we lowered the city flag in his honor last week. So all the best to his family. We did have National Public Works Week, the annual picnic. Rob, I want to apologize. I couldn't get by there due to work, but want to acknowledge that as well. We did have the Golden Shovel presentations if you get the opportunity, go by, excuse me, 7307 Summer Wind Circle and 1028 10th Street is where we made those presentations. We also had the joint Memorial Day ceremony at Ivy Hill. I want to acknowledge Chaplain Litchfield, who put that on a regular basis, and it was well attended, and we want to thank him for that. That same day out front, we did have our Memorial Garden and monument dedication. I encourage you to take the opportunity. It's not completed. I want to acknowledge Marty and the hard work that he and many others here at City Hall have done to put together the monuments that are out front. We have 2 others to do still that we're working with the American Legion on, but it's just a very nice and area that you'll be able to walk and really know what each of those monuments and what they stand for. I did have the opportunity to attend the Laurel High School graduation, and I want to thank and acknowledge Marty and Luann Crook for attending the Chesapeake Math and IT Academy graduation as well. They were both at the same time, and that was their first one, right? They said, yeah. The 21st delegation did have their Laurel Town meeting at the American Legion on the 30th, and they do have others coming up, so keep an eye out for those if you're interested in learning what went on at the Annapolis during the session. On June the 3rd, they did have a program by Bernadette's House, which was called, there was the first one that they had put on this year, Keeping Our Youth Safe Conference. It was at the Laurel Library, and I encourage you, if they have another, to attend. They had some very good speakers. We had our police officers there as well to speak on many different topics, and it could have been better attended, but like I said, there were some very good programs for our young and young people to really learn about. Just see. I would tell you about the July 4th golf tournament fundraiser they had, but I played in that. All I did was run after golf balls all day long, but they made money anyways. And the Laurel Police Department did have their Special Olympics torch run around town, so hopefully you saw that. I want to acknowledge and thank them for doing that as well. As you heard, the annual bike decorating contest and parade did go on. I want to acknowledge our Park and Recs and volunteers that helped out there. Yes, Mr. Les, we did see Hayden. He almost ran me over 3 different times, so he was on his, I don't know what you call it, a bike had 3 wheels, but Hot Wheels, yeah. So they had 80 participants this year, so it was very well attended, and the police department, Park and Recs, did an outstanding job. And on June the 10th, the Laurel Advocacy and Referral did have their 30th anniversary celebration, so it's been 30 years that they've been working in the community. On June the 10th, the Laurel Relay for Life did go from 12 noon until 12 that night. And again, many of our city forces were out helping to put that event on. So I want to acknowledge all of our departments for participating. You did hear about the Laurel Police Department as well. And then the Laurel Historical Society did have their picnic. That's where learned about something that will be coming up later this evening. And we did have, although I was late with it, my time with the mayor this evening, and we had a couple citizens there as well. The couple of announcements on June the 21st. We'll be having City Hall in the Park, which will be held at the Greenview Drive Pool. That's on the 21st, and that starts at 6:30 until 8. And then on July the 1st is the City of Laurel's annual 4th of July celebration, be the parade and fireworks. And I do have some appointments, Mr. President. So the first appointment is the nomination of Christine Pulley for the position of for the Director for the Department of Economic Community Development. Ms. Pulley has an impressive resume that's attached. She joined the city on September the 29th of 2008, first as a planner, then as a senior planner, and then was promoted to the assistant director. Since the departure of Mr. Brock, she has served as the acting director and has excelled in this role, continuing on her own with her assigned duties, maintaining the management of the department and preparing for the first annexation process. Throughout other zoning matters, she has demonstrated her ability to make sound, informed decisions for the good of the city and its residents. I'm very proud of the work that she has done, the guidance she has provided me over the months. I know she'll do an excellent job for the residents of the city of Laurel, and I'd ask for your confirmation.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Ricks.
I move for the appointment of Christian Pulley, Director of Economic and Community Development.
Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Valerie. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
Very well deserved, I say yes.
President Les?
Yes.
Would you like to say anything now that you're the director, and I have even more for you to do now?
Good evening, Mayor Mo, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I would just like to thank you for this opportunity. I'm very eager to work with everyone, and thanks again.
Congratulations. Thank you for accepting.
Congratulations.
Go to agenda item number 9.
Mr. President, I have, in accordance with the City of Laurel's emergency management guidelines, I submit for your consideration the appointment of Dr. Uzo Unegbu for the City of Laurel Department, City of Laurel Health Officer.
Recommendation of the mayor. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Ricks.
move for the adoption of Dr. Uzo.
Have a motion
I
to
can't
have
pronounce his last name, I apologize. Is the City of Laurel's health officer.
a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Discussion. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to agenda item number 10.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last, I'd like to reappoint that of Mr. Dennis Whitley to the Board of Appeals for the term of 6/12/17 to 6/12/20. As you know, Dennis has served on that Board of Appeals in years past, done an excellent job, and I'd ask for your confirmation.
Thank you, Mayor. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, I move that we confirm the reappointment of Dennis Whitley to the City of Laurel Board of Appeals.
Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Discussion. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Les?
Yes.
That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to agenda item number 11, general public hearing. First person signed up to speak is Amy Knox. If you come forward, Amy, and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Amy Knox. I live at 606 Prince George Street. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Councilman, council members, So I was coming here this evening to ask you to sign on to the We Are Still In initiative, but I understand that has happened, so I wanted to thank you for signing on to We Are Still In. I'm here as a citizen of Laurel, and I'm also representative of the historic Laurel Huddle, which is a group of active citizens that was brought together in the wake of the Women's March. And we work to engage, educate, and empower citizens on progressive issues to take action and educate individuals for the betterment of the community and for the country as well. So tonight, again, I'm here to thank you for signing on. We're still in and showing your commitment, Laurel's commitment to combating climate change. The We Are Still In initiative, as you know, supports the Paris Climate Accord. We all know that the Earth is warming, and whether the president wants to believe it or not, the Paris Climate Accord is a global effort to address that situation, and it's an enormous step in the right direction. And even if the federal government denies that climate change is happening and turns its back on the Climate Accord, the city of Laurel will still support that initiative. Across the United States, many cities, states, and counties, private businesses, and universities even are signing on to this initiative. And in fact, last week, PG County Exec Rashern Baker signed on to it. And I like what he had to say on behalf of all Prince Georgians. I stand committed with leaders nationwide around the world to combat the adverse effects of climate change. And then he provided concrete examples of the actions that PG County, its residents, and businesses are taking to combat climate change. So again, I would like to thank the City of Laurel for showing its commitment to combating climate change by signing on to We Are Still In. And in support of the initiative, I started a petition on Saturday evening, and I have the petition with me. We had 27 individuals, members of the historic Laurel Huddle, citizens of Laurel, and even some former citizens of Laurel signed on requesting that the city take part in this important event. So on behalf of the historic Laurel Huddle, the citizens of Laurel, myself, we're happy to see that you have signed on. And we're also eager and looking forward to opportunities to work with you and the city to make Laurel a greener and more environmentally friendly community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions of Amy?
She knows we have a committee, Environmental Affairs Committee.
Yeah, a couple of things. We've got an Environmental Affairs Committee, Amy. That's number one. The second thing, and I'll just mention this, the National League of Cities has a position on climate. And I'm waiting to see, when the mayor mentioned this to me, I went ahead and sent an email up there this afternoon, well, before I left work, to find out if they're taking any concrete position, because those, the National League of Cities operates, the Mayor's Association operates, National League of Cities does their thing too. And I think and of course, Patuxent River Commission is very interested about what's going on here, because we've got an improved bay now, a little bit, but every little bit counts. And all of these things of carbon and a big part carbon, they impact our water, whether it be bays and rivers. So again, hopefully I'll hear something back from National League of Cities later this week, because I'm on the Policy and Steering Committee, one of the Policy and Steering Committees, as is some of the other members of this council. So we're taking an active part in several different fronts. I don't think they're going to change 1600s ideas, but at least I think that there is a commitment on the part of people that we know we've got some kind of a problem. We've got to do something to slow it down. And we'll see what happens. I think there'll be some positive actions. Maybe there'll be some positive actions up on the hill as opposed to 1600.
Would you be able to speak a little bit about the Environmental Affairs Committee and how it might help move us in a more environmentally friendly direction? Do you have some ideas on that?
Well, I think that the environment,
I can speak to it.
I'm going to let Mr. Smalls address that issue since he's on the committee.
I was going to mention that. I chair the Environmental Affairs Committee, and so we'd be very happy at our next meeting to invite you out and sit down and have a dialogue to talk about some of the things that we're working to do and just kind of get your thoughts and share some of the efforts that we've been making here in the city.
We would appreciate that. Do you know when the next meeting is?
We'll have to send out an announcement. I don't have an exact date yet, but we'll certainly be in touch with you in the next few days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, and I really am excited to have been coming here to ask you to do something and then find out that you've already done it. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Next person on to speak is Karen Lubinecki. Just state your name and address for the record, Karen.
421 Prince George Street, and I was coming to basically reiterate my support for what Amy was just saying and asking you to support this letter and movement, and since you already have, to say thank you again, and that's pretty much what I was going to do.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, the next person signed up to speak is John Drago. John, if you'd come forward and state your name and address for the record. I'm going to ask him just a minute.
John Drago, Selborne House on Main Street. As usual, I'm here for art stuff. I promised to deliver you a flyer on that art show I mentioned some time back, and that's enough of that. You know, you can make it good, and if you can't, not a problem. What I actually came for was to
Go get those.
find out, and I kind of got an answer already from Marty.
Go get the petition.
But I know somebody that I think might be a good candidate for that Arts Council when you get to that. And I don't know how appropriate it is. Marty said he thought it was okay, but I thought I'd make it official to give you all a name of somebody and see if they might be interested in that. So does that work?
Yeah, John, you can give that name to any one of the council members, and
Yeah.
we got your name already. You're already in, as they say.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I don't make
you're on the
assumptions.
list, okay? Each
don't-
council member will be submitting names to the mayor. So if just any one of the council members, grab a hold of any one of them
Yeah.
and
This
provide the
person's-
name and a short resume.
Yeah, I can write something up, and you all can write a letter to this lady. She lives in Greenbelt, so she would be one of the 5 that is available that's not in the city. Because I remember the legislation said
Yeah.
6 Laurel and 5 from out. I want to speak to that for a second. I didn't intend to, but that was one of the things that I referred to that was enlightened about your 1908 as opposed to my knowledge of this in other cities. They just aren't open to some good help from someplace other than within their city limits, and I think they hurt themselves in terms of getting the best bang for the buck. So I was impressed with that. It was one of the things that's why I came, and I supported that legislation that night. All right, well then I'll put that name in, and I'll write a few notes about what I think that person would bring to this.
And I need a short resume from you, too.
I think I might have gave you.
You have it, Mayor?
Yeah,
The mayor says he already has it.
Yeah, I got something. I thought I put something there
All right.
when you all didn't know me.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all right. That's appropriate. Let's see.
Get that.
The last thing is that I really liked that Ragamuffins coffee morning because it gave me an opportunity to be really passionate without taking up your time at a council meeting. So that was that was cool. That was really
we'll
good.
Do some more. We'll do some more of that, John.
Yeah, I like that. I think that worked really well, because I had a lot of stuff. I don't have as much stuff to talk about anymore because I threw as much of it out there as I could. but that was really good. And last thing has to do with ragamuffins. It's not a city business thing, but it's about arts and my personal attempts to bring more art to Laurel. I had checked with them when they first opened about where they opened to maybe showing a few pieces of art on one of the walls, and also some kind of literary poetry recitals. And they showed some interest in that. And they said that at the moment they were kind of burnt out on decision making because they had just opened. And I said, well, that's fine because I've got a lot of things I need to get out of the way myself, including I have to leave here and go home and work on this painting I'm doing for the art show in 2 weeks. But I checked with them the other day, and they said it was okay for me to say that those little projects with me and them were still on the table.
Good.
So there's still a possible go with that. Nothing, not making no claims further than that, but we might have a little art reception and maybe a poetry, short story recital thing there. And I'll let you know about that, and maybe you all can come if you're available and enjoy a little bit of time that's not political. Anyway, I'm going to let you go.
Thanks, John.
I'm going to go home and paint now.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have no one else signed up to speak? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Come forward and state your name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Billy Carr. I live at 6823 Cundy Road. And my land's within a half a mile of this annexation. And I would like to get a map of something showing where this land runs. I think it goes over to the new condos. That was, and I'd like to see how far it's coming down.
Okay, sir, if you'd get with Christian, meeting's not going to last too long. We've got a lot of introductions tonight, and she'll take care of furnishing that information to you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, and thank you for coming. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the general public hearing at 6:36.
Michael, you had something.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm Gabriella King, and I also wanted to thank you for signing on to We Are Still In. That's all.
Sure. Okay. General public hearing is closed, 6:36. We'll move to agenda item number hang on a minute. What are we going to do first? The painting? Okay, I want to make sure. Agenda item number 12, consideration of bid recommendation for the LA 17-04 Bowie Road improvement. Rob, you have the floor.
Yes, good evening. As discussed at the work session, Department of Public Works had put together a bid package for some Bowie Road improvements from the CSX Bridge up to 2nd Street, Washington Boulevard, or US Route 1 northbound. There were 6 bids that were opened on April 12th, ranging from $275,000 up to $450,000. And the CIP presently has the funding for the low bidder, which was J Villa Construction, for a total of $275,000, and we're asking for a $30,000 contingency for a total of $305,000.
Okay. This was discussed at the June 7th work session. What's the pleasure of the council?
President.
Mr. Ricks?
I move for the adoption of recommendation number LA 1704 Bowie Road. Ready to the record.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Les?
Yes, thank you. Move to agenda item number 13, consideration of a recommendation for the award of contract for towing services. Chief, you have the floor.
Good evening. As we discussed at the work session, we put out an RFP in regards to our towing contracts for the city of Laurel and the police department. As a result of the RFP request for proposal, 5 tow companies expressed an interest in providing towing services to the city and the police department. Each of these businesses were provided an overview of the towing program and the mandated requirements which they agreed they would meet. Inspections were conducted at all the interested tow companies, which included inspections of their facilities, vehicles, and cleanliness of storage and office space, payment options, which is mandated by Prince George's County Code, record-keeping process, and meeting with the management to discuss expectations of the services provided. The 5 companies were Automated Support Towing and Recovery on Old Gunpowder Road in Laurel, Hoffman Brothers Towing on Sandy Spring Road in Laurel, Lenny's Towing, which carries a corporate address of Kit Kat Road in Elk Ridge, Maryland, Morton's Towing and Recovery, which carries an address of Washington Street South in Laurel, which is in the Anne Arundel County, part of Laurel, and Past and Present, which is located on Academy Lane. As a result of the inspections and overall review, in order to maintain our current rotational call list, it is recommended that the following 3 towing companies be awarded a City of Laurel towing services contract for a period of 2 years, effective July 1st of 2017. The recommendations are based upon the results of the inspection and compliance with our guidelines, and the 3 companies are Automated Support Towing and Recovery, Hoffman Brother Towing, Morton's Towing and Recovery, and I'm requesting the execution of the towing contracts with the above or the referenced providers for a period of 2 years.
Okay, Chief, and as we discussed at the work session, it's a rotation type of situation.
That is correct. It is all computer generated, and it's a computer generated rotational process.
Excellent. Okay. As I indicated, it was discussed at the June 7th work session. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President?
Ms. Nicholas.
Move to approve the award of the contract for the towing services starting July 1st for 2 years.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Les?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, now we'll move to the consideration of a recommendation to award a contract to paint the Laurel Municipal Center. We just discussed this. Do you have anything to add, Ms. Barr?
No, I think we discussed it at length at the earlier work session, and we are recommending that we accept the bid provided by, or ride the bid provided to Berman Management by Manders Decorating Company out of Silver Spring, Maryland for $41,120.
And I'll note for the record that we will be managing our portion of this painting job.
That is correct.
As it relates to the buildings. Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President.
Mr. Ricks.
Move for the adoption of the bid as recommended by staff.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Les?
Yes. Move to agenda item number 15. Introduction and first public hearing on resolution number 10-17, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, adopting an annexation plan for the annexation of certain real property known as 7041 Conti Road, Laurel, Maryland, and 7051 Conti Road, Laurel, Maryland, owned by Strip Matter Conti, LLC. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. This was discussed at the June 7th work session. I'll open the public hearing at 6:43. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 6:43 and a half. The second public hearing with possible action will be at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, July 10th at 6 p.m. Move to agenda item number 16. Introduction and first public hearing on annexation resolution number 11-17, first 2017 annexation, a resolution of the mayor and city council of Laurel entitled First 2017 Annexation, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Laurel by annexing into the corporate limits of the city of Laurel certain real property contiguous to and adjoining the city's existing corporate boundaries known as 7041 Conti Road, Laurel, Maryland, and 7051 Conti Road, Laurel, Maryland, owned by Strip Matter Conti LLC, consisting of approximately 32.68 acres. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. This was discussed at the June 7th work session. I'll open a public hearing at 6:44. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 6:45. The second public hearing with possible action at the mayor and city council meeting will be on Monday, July 10th, 2017 at 6 p.m. Move to agenda item number 17. Charter Amendment Resolution number 171, first 2017 annexation, a charter amendment resolution amending the charter of the City of Laurel, Article 200, corporate limits, to add section number 251, first 2017 annexation, to include within the description of the corporate limits of the city all of the land annexed into the city via annexation resolution number 11-17, which property is known as 7041 Conti Road and 7051 Conti Road, and consisting of 32.68 acres of land, more or less. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. This was discussed at the June 7th work session. I'll open the public hearing at 6:46. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing at 6:46 and a half. The second public hearing with possible action at the mayor and city council meeting on Monday, July 10th, 2017 at 6 p.m.
Mr. President.
Yes.
A procedural question. Mr. Manzi, in number 16, when we say approximately 32.68 acres, should that be consistent with number 17 in saying acres of land, more or less?
Yeah, because the plus or minus.
Plus or minus? Thank you.
That's exactly what. Sometimes they use more or less, sometimes they use plus or minus.
But my point is, at 16, it doesn't say that plus or anything.
We can change that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Okay. It's a legal formality, but I must read this all into the record. Is that correct, Mr. Manzi? Agenda item number 18. Introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1915, Mayor and City Council of Laurel Infrastructure Bonds, 2017 Series A, an emergency ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Municipal Corporation of the State of Maryland, the issuer, providing for the issuance and sale of an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $3,500,000 of bonds of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to be known as Mayor and City Council of Laurel Infrastructure Bonds, 2017 Series A, or by such other or additional designations as required by the Community Development Administration identified herein. The bonds to be issued and sold pursuant to the authority of Section 4-101 through 4-255 of the Housing and Community Development article of the Annotated Code of Maryland as amended, and Section 521 of the Charter of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel for the purpose of 1. Refunding outstanding Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland Infrastructure Bond 2007 Series B, 2. Funding a portion of a capital reserve fund, and 3. paying issuance and other costs related to the bonds, providing that the bonds shall be issued upon the full faith and credit of the issuer, providing for the disbursement of the proceeds of the sale of the bonds, and for the levy of annual taxes upon all assessable property within the corporate limits of the issuer, for the payment of the principal of and interest on the bonds as they shall respectively mature, providing for the form, tenor, denomination, maturity date or dates, and other provisions of the bonds, providing for the sale of the bonds and providing for related purposes, including, without limitation, the method of fixing the interest rate or rates to be borne by the bonds, the approval, execution, and delivery of documents, agreements, certificates, and instruments, and the making of or providing for the making of representations and covenants concerning the tax status of interest on the bonds. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. It was discussed at the June 7th work session. I'll open the public hearing at 6:49. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone wishing to speak? I'll close the public hearing at 6:50. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules on this agenda item.
Mr. President, I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Laz?
Yes, now I'll entertain a motion on the,
Mr. President, so move.
you didn't want to read it all over again?
No.
Okay, I have a motion on the issue as read into the record. Do I have a second?
Second. Oh. Refer to the councilwoman.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
President Laz?
Yes. I thank the council.
I'll concur.
Excuse me,
I'm
Mr.
sorry, Mayor. Mayor Mel.
Thank you, Mayor.
Didn't want you to think I'd beat you.
Move to agenda item number 19, introduction and first public hearing on resolution number 12-17. A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel entering into a cooperation agreement between the City of Laurel and Prince George's County on behalf of the Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. Who wants to explain this real quick? I think I'm going to ask for an explanation real quick, Marty.
Mr. President, the cooperation agreement before you is an agreement that we have executed with Prince George's County for well over 30 years that I've been involved in it. Basically, if we were to apply directly to the federal government for housing and community development funds, we would find an extremely competitive process. Understanding this, Prince George's County back in the late 70s implemented this program that allows local jurisdictions to share in the funds that are acquired by Prince George's County. They obviously have the wherewithal to compete more so than municipal governments. So they have a track record of being successful. They set up this program to enable municipalities to share in the benefits of their ability to acquire funds through the Housing and Community Development Program. And this cooperation agreement would extend the agreement that we're currently under until 2018. Basically, the benefit to us is we don't have to go through a competitive process to acquire funds. The approval process to get funds and to have projects approved is a much more simple process than what we would encounter at the federal level. The county historically has, because of all the local jurisdictions contained within the county, they historically have limited funds to anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 for each jurisdiction. We have been very successful over the years that we've participated in this program. The most current project funded through this was Laurel Bowie Road. Unfortunately, most of the street projects that that we have coming up are not within an area that qualifies for HUD funds. So what we anticipate, and we have not yet sat down with representatives from the county, but what we anticipate, and through my experience on the county's advisory group, they did allow disbursement of funds to service organizations in Prince George's County. So it's our hopes that we would be eligible to make application for our newly established youth program.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. I will open the public hearing at 6:55. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone willing to speak or wishing to speak? I was looking right at Jamie. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 6:55 and a half. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Laz?
Yes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls. Any discussion? Call the roll, Ms. Rao.
Mr. Ricks?
Aye.
Mr. Smalls?
I vote yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Laz?
Yes.
Mayor Mel?
And that's all we have on the agenda, but I will note that the next meeting will be July 10th at 6 p.m., as we will be at the Maryland Municipal League convention at the end of this month. And that's all.